Right, we're going to look at some past paper questions on loci now, and basically loci are a way of defining a boundary between 2 points or 2 lines or 1 point which satisfies a particular condition, like it's an equal distance from one point to another, or it's nearer to one line or another. And there are a number of constructions that you need to know what to do and recognize depending on the condition that you need to satisfy. It makes more sense if I draw it than gabble on about it, really. So the first one we need to look at is if we've got an equal distance from a point. Okay, so for example, 4 centimeters from point A. So if I have a point there, A, and I want to draw a path which is always 4 centimeters away from A, then that path will be a circle. So what you'd have to do is get your compass, open it out to 4 centimeters, put the point at A and draw a circle like that. So basically what we're saying there is wherever I am on that circle, I am going to be exactly 4 centimeters away from that point A. If the condition is that it is at least 4 centimeters away from A, then it would be everything outside that circle, because that circle is the defining point for exactly. So at least 4 centimeters away from A would be that hatched area there. If the condition was at most 4 centimeters away from A, or no further than 4 centimeters away, then it would be everything that's inside that circle. So exactly 4 centimeters would be on the circle, at least 4 centimeters would be the black hatching that's outside the circle, and no further than 4 centimeters would be inside the circle. So if you're talking about an equal distance from a point, that's what you do, you draw a circle. Now the next type that we need to look at is an equal distance from 2 points. So if I've got 2 points A and B, and I want to draw a path which is always exactly the same distance from A as it is to B, then what we have to do is construct what we call the perpendicular bisector. Okay? And what it effectively means is that you are going to draw a line which is exactly halfway between A and B, and also at right angles between those. And the easiest way to do it really is with a compass. And what you do is this: you put your compass point on A and you open it out just so that it's over half. You don't have to measure it. By eye, it's over halfway between the two. And then you draw an arc above and below the line. And then without changing the size of the compass, you move the point to point B and you draw 2 more arcs which cross the first 2. When you join those up, they will be the perpendicular bisector. So what that means is anywhere on this line, let's say there for example, if you measure the distance from A to that line, you can see there is 5.7. If you measure B to that line, you will get the same distance 5.7. So anywhere on that line it's going to be the same distance from the 2 points. So again, if you think of the language, if the question is interested in the point being exactly the same distance from those two, then it would be on that perpendicular bisector. If the language said closer to A than to B, well, once you've drawn that dividing line, closer to A than to B would be everywhere that side of the line. If it said closer to B than to A, then it would be to the right of the line, then it would be nearer there. But the construction you would have to draw is this perpendicular bisector between the two. If in an exam you can't remember how to construct the perpendicular bisector, then there's nothing wrong with you measuring the distance between it, dividing it by 2, and making sure that the line that you draw is at right angles to it. But it's a fairly easy construction to make. So that's equal distance from 2 points. Next is equal distance to a line. So e.g. exactly 4 centimeters from line AB. So if we've got a line which I'm going to call AB, if I want my line to be exactly 4 centimeters from it, well, it's going to be a parallel line. It could be a parallel line which is 4 centimeters this way, but it could also be 4 centimeters that way too. So this really, the easiest way to do it is by measuring. It needs to be at right angles to the line, so what I suggest you do is you take the longer line on your ruler, which you can line up with the one that's been drawn, and measure your 4 centimeters, and measure it in more than one place. So I've got 2 dots there which I know are 4 centimeters away. So that is always going to be 4 centimeters from that line, and if it's a line that hasn't got any end to it, then that means that it could be 4 centimeters this way as well. The key thing is that the lines are parallel. So anywhere on that line is 4 centimeters, and anywhere on this line is 4 centimeters. So again, depending on the language, if it says it has to be exactly 4 centimeters from AB, then it's going to lie on the line. If it says it has to be more than 4 centimeters from AB, then you'd be shading out here. It would be beyond the line. If the language was such that it needed to be at most 4 centimeters from the line, then you would be shading inside the parallel line, because the boundary would then be the outer region. So that's an equal distance to one line. And the final one that we need to know about is an equal distance between 2 lines. Oops, missed the U there. So if we've got 2 lines, AB and AC, if we want to find the region which is, or the path which is an equal distance between the 2 lines, what we have to do is cut this angle in half. Now you can do it by measuring, but again there is a construction that you are expected to know, and again it's not a difficult one to remember. What you do is you take your compass, you put the center of the compass at A, open it out a reasonable distance, and mark off on each line. Then move the compass, don't change the size of it, onto where you've just marked and draw an arc, and repeat that from this other line and cross them, and then where those cross through the point A, which is what we're cutting, everywhere on that line is an equal distance from both AB and BC. As I said, you could get an angle measurer, measure that, divide it by 2 and mark it on if you've forgotten, but it is something that it's not too difficult to remember. Now again, depending on the language, if the language states that it's closer to line AB than BC, then that means that if you're on that line, it's exactly the same distance. If you want to be closer to AB, you would be shading in that side of the line. If it said closer to BC than AB, then obviously you'd be shading in this line. So in summary, you need to be able to draw a circle for equal distance from a point. The perpendicular bisector is equal distance from 2 points. The angle bisector is equal distance between 2 lines. And it's worth practicing those.